Chapter 330. Lady Richard trembled as she walked toward Emma and knelt directly in front of her. Everyone in the ward was shocked at this time. Who would have ever imagined that the haughty and arrogant Lady Richard would kneel in front of Emma? This truly was a shock to everyone. Even Harold's father did not expect his mother to actually be willing to kneel in front of Emma and beg, just so that she would be able to trick Emma into going back to work for the Richard Group. She had been so strong and arrogant throughout her entire life, always trying to control and manipulate everyone around her. How could she possibly kneel in front of someone else like this? Why would she kneel in front of Emma? Emma was also surprised and dumbfounded at this time. She quickly replied, "Grandma, what are you doing now? Please get up. We can amicably discuss things." Lady Richard continued kneeling in front of Emma before she said apologetically, "Emma, what your grandmother did in the past was wrong. I know that everything was my fault. I should not have chased you out of the Richard Group. I sincerely apologize to you for my mistake. Emma, please forgive your grandmother and come back to help the Richard Group again. The Richard family cannot survive without you. If you refuse to come back to the Richard Group, it is truly over for the Richard family. Please, Emma. Grandma is begging you now. Please come back to the Richard Group." Lady Richard's attitude toward Emma had changed completely. And she was no longer the arrogant old woman who always used her position as the head of the family to control and coerce Emma into doing something that she did not want to do. Right now, she was simply pleading and desperately begging Emma to help the Richard family. It seemed as though she genuinely regretted her past actions. The Richard family was in danger of going bankrupt and losing everything they had. Therefore, Lady Richard knew that even if she had to kneel and beg, she had to make sure that she did everything she could to get Emma to work for the Richard Group again. Otherwise, the Richard Group would really be ruined in her hands. When Harold's father saw his mother kneeling before Emma and desperately begging her, the expression on his face changed immediately. Quick as a flash, he dragged Harold and Olivia along with him as all three of them knelt beside Lady Richard to beg Emma to return to the Richard Group. Emma suddenly felt a little lost as she witnessed this scene. She had never expected that Lady Richard, who had always cared about her own face and reputation more than her own life, to actually kneel and apologize to her in front of so many other people. It seemed as though the Richard family was completely desperate. When Lady Richard saw that Emma was still indifferent, she continued sobbing as she spoke, "Emma, please have some pity for your poor grandmother. The Richard family cannot live without you. Please, Emma. Please come back and work for the Richard Group." After that, Lady Richard continued kneeling as she kowtowed to Emma 3 times with a miserable and distressed expression on her face, making it seem as though she was going to continue kneeling until she died unless Emma agreed to help the Richard family. If you knew that things would turn out this way, why did you mistreat Emma in the first place? At this time, Alex walked up to Lady Richard before he said coldly, "Grandma, thank you very much for coming to visit my father-in-law today. We really appreciate it. However, it would be impossible for Emma to return to work for the Richard Group." After saying that, Alex issued an eviction order and said, "Please leave this place immediately." Lady Richard immediately stopped crying and glared at Alex as she said, "Alex, when you had nothing at all, the Richard family provided for you and gave you food, clothing, and a place to live. Don't you feel a little grateful at all? Why are you trying to sow discord between Emma and the other members of the Richard family now?" Alex smiled faintly before he said, "I am sorry, Grandma, but the person who fed me and provided for me was Emma and my parents-in-law. You have never given me anything and all you have ever done is to mock me and call me a piece of trash. Why should I be grateful to someone like you?" Then, the expression on Alex's face changed before he snorted, "Don't think that I do not know what your plan is. I know that you are just trying to trick and manipulate Emma into going back to the Richard Group because you want her to help the Richard Group secure some contracts and partnerships with the other. companies so that you can revitalize the Richard Group again. Am I wrong?